Hi, I am coming at you with a bit of a raw subject today. So I am aware that I am putting myself in a position to be judged. And I want you to know that I am also coming from a position in which I will not be judging you based on your experience with this exact same thing. So I want to kind of talk about my experience of codependency and generational timelines and what this looks like. And I'm going to base it on a dream that I had last night. And I might be skipping timelines, so bear with me, okay? I had a dream last night that I gave birth. I was standing on the beach and I gave birth to a baby. And I had a party to go to. I had a friend's party to go to, and I had expended so much energy just giving birth, but my codependent parts went to the party and left the baby where I had given birth to her. She was safe. She was taken care of by like hospital staff, which was this little shed next to the beach. I knew she was safe, but I had left her there. And I went to this party and everybody was partying, and I was trying to explain, like, I just gave birth to this baby. And one of my friends was sitting next to me and she literally acted like she did not hear anything I was saying. And then I realized she was hearing me, but she wasn't listening. And she literally didn't care and couldn't hear me because she was in her own world. And everybody around me, they were all celebrating. And I realized that I had just left my baby on their behalf to show up at their party going, oh, my baby's gonna be fine, you know, she's like, whatever, she's taken care of. And I have an infant, right? So like, I'm busy a lot. And if I even try to put a toy down for him, he's like, no, that's not what I want, right? Like, I want you. And retrospectively, when I had my first child, my son, every time I would walk in the room, he would cry. And I thought, oh my God, this kid doesn't like me. And I actually asked my professor at the time, I said, like, why is my kid crying every time I walk in the room? And he said, well, he missed you. That's why. And I can see that so clearly now with my infant, which is, wow, he's crying because he doesn't want anything but me. He goes, why are you over there and you're not holding me, right? So children just want their earth. They want their mother, period, right? So in my dream, when I realized that I'd left my child on their behalf and they didn't even care about me whatsoever, and they didn't care about her, and I had expended so much energy giving birth to her, and then I ran to them to like somehow accommodate them emotionally, I said, fuck this, I'm out. And I went back and I realized when I was talking to like the hospital staff or the midwives or whatever, I realized I didn't even take the time to look at her. I just gave birth to her and left. So I looked at her and my first thought was like, whoa, she doesn't look like me. That can't be my child. She's like, actually she was a redhead, which was interesting. And I looked at her though, like here was this physical package that didn't feel like me, didn't look like me, but I knew she was mine, and I claimed her. And I made a vow to myself to never choose anything over her again, right? So we can look at this in Jungian terms, we could look at this as inner child work, and here's where I'm going to skip and cross timelines, okay? So the backstory to this is my third child, I went into labor with on a beach 3.5 hours away from my home. And I went into labor with her on her due date, and I was not afraid at all that I was going to give birth to her. It was the most epic, serene, unreal. I was alone on the beach, just like me with her communicating. And I didn't care that my mucus plug broke and I was having contractions. Didn't care at all. I wasn't worried. Oh my God, I should hurry home, whatever. And which was a good thing because I didn't give birth for 3 days later. I labored for 36 hours with her. She was my third child, and I had her after I had 2 cesarean sections. So I found a doctor who would let me have what is called a VBAC, which is vaginal birth after cesarean. And I successfully gave birth to her after 36 hours of completely natural labor in the shower at the hospital. And if you know my history from Imperfectly Sane, that's a pretty big deal because I have something that I assume is called reflex anoxic seizures, but they have to do with pain. So when I am in pain, my brain sends a signal to my heart telling my heart to stop, and then my heart stops, and then I have a seizure because there's no oxygen going to my brain, and then it just picks back up. So I had natural childbirth with her. And before her birth, I was in a position where I had to have an abortion. I didn't have to have an abortion. Actually, if you read Imperfectly Sane, you'll know that I actually had an abortion to keep the job that I had to provide for my children, that I was already a single mom of 2. And I was struggling as it was. And the idea of giving this child up was like, what am I going to show my kids that I'm like pregnant with a baby and just give it away? Like, what kind of a mother does that, right? But and I want you to know that I'm not a proponent for abortion. The consequences is kind of what I want to talk about in this whole thing, because I did a lot of ceremonious work around that after the fact. And I said to this baby, like, go find me your father, and you can come back in if it was me that you were intending to come through. And I believe that is what happened, right? I believe that on a soul level, this particular baby wanted to come through me and waited. But in that waiting, there is a almost like purgatory, where the same thing as that baby in that dream is going, they can't see me, I'm here, but she can't see me, I'm here, but she's not choosing me, I'm here, but they don't want me, right? She doesn't want me, or she couldn't do it, or whatever. It's like, to that soul, it's about not being wanted. It's not about anything else. So there's the soul level aspect of that, right? And I do 100% believe that my 4th child technically by physiology, is the soul of that aborted baby. That said, though, on a bodily level, she has come into the planet with those years of going, mommy, I'm here. Why aren't you hearing me? Why aren't you seeing me? Right? Waiting by my side for me to see her and hear her. And she displays that in her psyche, present day. Okay, so her physical body is wanted, she's super loved, and she has night terrors. She has these insane gifts of like, where she's telling me about the people she talks to who are actually dead. And, you know, I know that by the age of 7, that's probably going to dissipate, but she's really very active across the board. And a lot of that is traumatic for her. So despite her being the soul of that physical, of that baby, the physical package on a DNA level was different. So the integration is going to be challenging for her because that particular baby came in with a different body, right? And she's really interesting because she actually specifically talks from her body. She'll say like, nope, my body doesn't want to go there. Nope, my body doesn't like that. She doesn't even really talk from her head, except when she says, well, my mind told me to do that. But she has all of these like different parts where she's speaking from. And I believe that the effect of that abortion plays out in her psyche present day. And I'm not saying that this plays out in everybody's psyche. I'm not saying that this is even real, right? Like, if you're still here, maybe I lost you already, but this is what's real for me. And this is what I believe in my heart and every fiber of my being to be true. Okay. And this is why, what I wanted to say about that piece with the position I was in was also, I just had gotten the first job that I was ever actually making $30,000. It was actually $28,000, but I didn't want to lose that job. I was single. I had just bought my first house on my own. So, I didn't have support. And if I would have had another baby, it would have been like, again, I don't have support to take care of these babies. And honestly, I had that abortion because I wanted to be able to provide for my children. As crazy as that sounds psychically, because I go, okay, I'm gonna get rid of one so I can take care of the other. That doesn't seem fair or right, but that was where I was at the time. I ironically lost that job 2 months later for no fault of my own. So, and then you could look at that two ways and go, oh, you know, she did it and she did it to keep the job that she lost. Or you could look at it and go, well, she wouldn't have been able to afford the baby anyway. But on a different level, like, we never know how we do anything and we just get it done. So obviously I want to give you the backstory to this because of this, okay? On an energetic level, psychologically speaking, we could call this integration. Shamanically speaking, we could call it soul retrieval. The work I did this morning after my dream was this really interesting imprint that is always there, but I haven't had access to it, which I did this morning, which was that the moment that I knew that I was unwanted, it's actually like what was true is I came out of my mother's physical package and everything was fine until my lower half came out and I was a girl. And it is said that my mother was like, rolled her eyes like, this can't be happening. And my father literally said the words, "You've got to be kidding me, put it back," because I was a girl. The vibrational imprint of that is one thing, right? But what was left and the parts of me that were left is what I want to talk about. Because the downloads that I was getting this morning was actually that when it comes to codependency, and my mother literally does not like me, right? Like I, on an empathic level, have always been like, that's impossible, right? You can't not like your own child. But I now believe that. And I think that I understand why on a deeper level, which is, and think of this in a family systems way, right? The part of my essence that was my wholeness, I left it inside of her body, right? I have taken up space in her womb in a way that I have not. She's going, oh my God, I gave this kid everything, like, get out. And she threw me out of the nest very early. She, across the board, had no mercy for my emotional experiences. Everything I was a problem for her. There's no ability to connect. And if I think about this on a codependent level and I go, okay, I'm actually like the part of me that makes me, the part of me that went back to that baby and said, I will claim you in my dream. That I don't understand the physical package you came in, but I know you're mine. I'm going to claim you because I love you. And I'm never going to abandon you again for these people who don't give a shit what happened to me this morning. They don't give a shit that I expended energy giving birth to you. They don't give a shit about my experience in it. I'm going to stay with you. You matter to me, right? There's a wholeness in that connection that I made in my dream with that particular baby. And that other part of me, that like baby part, I have left inside of my mother because when I came out of the womb and they didn't want me and they learned that I was a girl, I learned to cut off my own wholeness, and that almost lower half energy of myself is inside of my mother's womb. Excuse me. So I did some work to take that back today and actually relieve her of that. Because do you see how it might be? Because if I'm in my mother's womb, and I hear this so often in the work that I do, there's so many emotional ancestral things going on. And she's the woman being intimate with my father, but I'm in her. And we understand that energy is transferable and energy sticks places and it moves places. What does that do to my psyche, to her psyche, and the psyche of my father, right? That's all I'm going to say about that piece. So when I consider that the whole part of me that's left inside of my mother is a part of me that she hates because I'm taking up space in her, because on a, innocent level, I learned immediately when I was born, they don't want me. I can't have those parts of myself. I can't be a girl. I can't have my lower half. So I had to leave it inside of her almost. But that is the thing that is my life force. That is the connective piece between me and that little girl that I gave birth to in my dream, that I said, I will not abandon you again, right? And I, this morning, envisioned my mother just like me being born again and pulling all of that out of her. Because as much as she doesn't like me, she can't leave me alone. And that's because I'm inside of her. And she's trying to get back something that she doesn't even know what she's trying to get from me. And it's really just to give me the parts back of myself that are taking up space in her. And I have to be a sovereign being enough when we think about codependency to say, okay, I'm going to take all those parts back. Because actually, as much as I'm dependent on you and I want you to want me and I need you to need me and I want to prove to you that I'm lovable, the parts of me that just are wanted, needed, and loved, that I want, need, and love, have been living inside of her. And I keep going back to her, right? I keep going back to her going, please love me, please love me. There's something in you that is me. And if I can pull that out energetically, I'm going to be more in my fullness, and she's going to be more connected to herself while I'm more connected to myself. The parts of me I've left in her that I've witnessed her on a visionary level and an energetic level giving birth to this morning, so that I can envelope myself in the wholeness that I was when it was still dark in there, before all of a sudden I came to the light and realized I wasn't wanted, right? And for sure the imprints are there beforehand, but I was wanted when I was in utero because they were told I was a boy. So that was a very confusing thing. My physical package, I had to cut it off. I wasn't allowed to be the thing that I actually was. So I'm connecting all of these pieces because on a generational level, that which I experienced in a physical bodily package, my aborted baby experienced in a soul way, and it came in through a physical package that was different than the one that she originally came in through, right? And the psyche of my daughter is still going, wait, I know that you love me, I know that you want me, but I can see that like, she still has that reverberation effect of going, they can't hear me. I hear things that they can't hear. And like, what world are we in? Are we in the same world? Or are we not in the same world? Like, she tells me about her old mommy and how her old mommy used to do these things with her, and that her old mommy still loves her and she can still talk to her old mommy. And I did some work around this one before she was born, I was even pregnant with her, saying like, thank you to all of my ancestors and all of the angels that are with her, that are holding her and that are keeping her safe until she's ready to come back. Please mother her. Please mother her for me while I am not doing that, right? It wasn't that I couldn't, it's that I didn't know how I could. And in that moment I got stuck on like, I don't know how. So I just said, okay, I can't do it. So I'm super grateful she's here. And I know that on an energetic level, on a soul level, this is her dharma for whatever reason. It does not excuse, to me, the fact that there is still trauma for her because of a traumatic decision that I had to make, and my physical body holds both the death and the life of that physical package, even though the soul is different. So the soul came in through a different package, but that DNA of that particular body still lives inside of me, right? And the death of that DNA still lives inside of me. And this is where integration is necessary, right? This is where the codependent has to go, I am in this package, and I claim all of the parts of my soul, all of the parts of me that have been left in my mother or with my father, or in that moment when I flew out of the car, or in the years before my mother gave birth to me, because, you know, there was an abortion before that, or there was a miscarriage before that, or whatever it was, right? This is integration. And this is me today, and I want to say this, claiming that for most of my life, I've been the girl who, if I had a friend say, hey, like, let's go do this, I would be the codependent who would be like, okay, sure, as long as my kids are safe, I'll do that with you. But I would literally leave my children for the benefit of somebody else, or I would bring them with me too, but on an emotional level, my kids would be out, like if I was at a festival or something, they'd be out dancing and I'd be like therapizing a friend of mine. And I would leave them for other people. And that is, again, me doing that to myself. That little girl I gave birth to in my dream is me. She doesn't look like me. I don't understand how she's me, but she's me. And I know based on my dream that I went back to me today. And I said, I will not abandon you again. Because we can talk about abortion as a negative thing, blah, 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 blah. But how many times have we ourselves abandoned our baby infant, our inner child, for the sake of somebody else? My guess is if you're here, you do it every single day of your whole fucking life, right? And even when we don't think we are. I go, oh, well, their emotional experience is more important than mine, or their desires are more important than mine, or if I'm going to be a good person, I have to sit and listen to this, even though my newborn baby that I just expended so much energy giving birth to is over there. I'm going to now, from this day forward, go be with that baby and not worry about what this person's going to think if I'm a good person, if I listen to them or not. That baby, even though she didn't have the tools to cry for me, even though she didn't know what she wanted, all she wanted was me. She didn't want the nurses. She didn't want the warmth of the bed. She didn't want all of the artificial things or the toys that I try to put in front of my son while I'm busy and I don't want him to need me, right? They don't want that. What they want is us, our loyalty, our I will hold you. I will hold you while I do the dishes. I will stay with you while this person wants you to be with them. I will stay with you instead because you are me and I claim you and I love you and I will not abandon you, right? So it's that simple. It's that simple. It's that as a codependent, we have pieces of ourselves, probably in other people, that we're trying to get back from them because we've left ourselves in them going, oh, you're going to be the one who saves me. Or you're going to be the one, I can prove that I'm lovable enough. Look, I'm listening to you. I'm here. I can prove to you that I'm a really good person. Then you'll love me. No, those people won't love you just because you're a good person, right? And actually, those people might actually think you're weak, which is a big one for me at this point. Like, whoa, that's like really not the best realization after years of sacrificing on the behalf of other people. That which is in me going, hey, I'm here too. And this is where the inner child needs us to be the parent, and the parent needs to need the inner child, because that is integration. That's integration. So I covered a lot of timelines here and a lot of my own experience. I'm just going to say that. And if it served you in any way, awesome. If you think I'm absolutely nuts, that's okay too. But this is real for me. And I am a living embodiment of the ramifications of all of the things that I've just said. And so are my children, right? So if I could serve you in making decisions based on divine will rather than the fear-based part of me that says, I can't choose you. I can't choose you. It's not safe to choose you. It's not going to work out. I don't know how. I don't know how. So many people go, Stace, I don't know how to do this. I can hear you intellectually. I can hear you intellectually. I get what you're saying cognitively, but how do I do this? And we have to understand that everything outside of us is a symbol for something that's going on inside of us. So when we say, how do I tell my husband I love him after like years of being like, fuck you, right? It starts with owning the parts of yourself that are mad at him, claiming them, and loving those parts, right? It starts with swallowing that whole and going, okay, you're allowed to be here. Because everything externalized is just a symbol for something that's going on internalized. And when we bring it in, and we swallow it whole, the outer world is more integrated on our behalf, right? That is thy kingdom come. That is thy kingdom come. So I hope that this serves somebody today. I love you guys. Thanks so much for being here. And I've heard, I don't really read my comments because it can be really mean, but I have people email me saying, Stace, you should really read your comments because people love you and people are really changing because of what you're saying and how you're being. So if you're that person, thank you for supporting that. The little girl in me that I gave birth to this morning in my dream, and for supporting me going back to her instead of coming to you, because she needs me. And I hope that you can do the same.